Hello class, my name is Dustin Leak and I'll be your instructor for IST 1260. Sorry we couldn't meet this first week in person due to some scheduling conflicts that we had. We had to postpone our first physical meeting till next week, but we're going to do lecture on chapter 1 here, so I hope that you can get something out of it. If you do have any questions, feel free to email me anytime throughout the week or give me a call and I'll help you as much as I can. So with that being said, we're going to jump right in to chapter 1. And here we go. So do I make it bigger? Okay. This time we're going to look at managing, maintaining, and troubleshooting as the name of our book. And this chapter 1 is just going to be an introduction to the Windows operating system. The objectives for this chapter is we're going to learn how to use the Windows to interface with users, files, folders, applications, and the hardware. We're going to learn about some Windows tools that we can use to examine and support our systems. When it comes to using Windows, the two main components that we're going to talk about is what is an OS, OS meaning operating systems, and the 4 main functions of it. To start out with, what is an OS? An OS is an operating system, and an operating system is software that controls a computer. Every system must have an operating system. Every computer out there, whether it be Mac-based, Linux-based, any of them must have an operating system, and that's what those brands are. An operating system can have many different applications or programs installed on it. There are 4 main functions of an operating system. The first one is it provides a user interface. What it means by providing a user interface is that this is where the user is going to interact with the system. This is where the user in particularly is going to use their I/O devices or their input-output devices, monitor, mouse, keyboard. It gives the user something to look at. Okay, it provides that graphical user interface. It doesn't have to be graphical. It can be textual based, but it provides a user interface, something for the user to interact with. The second function is it manages files. Manages files by allowing us to create files, storing files, allows us to delete files, move them, and access them. The third function is it manages the hardware, whether this be internal devices such as your network cards, your video cards, all your internal connections. It also does your external devices, your USB drives, anything external that you're going to connect to it. The operating system manages those. And the fourth component of an operating system is it manages applications. What an application is just the set of software that the end user perceives as a single entity as a tool for a well-defined purpose. So an example of an application would be like Microsoft Word. Users know that that is a program that you can use to type papers and so on. Another example of an application would be some form of web browser, whether it be Google Chrome or Internet Explorer. It helps you to manage applications by allowing you to run them and also allowing you to install and uninstall the applications. When it comes to using an operating system, all of your components, whether it be RAM, hard drive, printer, they all work together. They go back to the CPU then goes to the operating system, and then it then presents it to the user. Next, we're going to talk about the Windows desktop. We're going to define what a desktop is. We're going to look at the aerial interface. We're going to take a look at the start menu, applications, the taskbar, the system tray, and the control panel. So what is the Windows desktop? A desktop is the initial screen that is displayed after Windows has loaded and the user has logged in. When we're talking about Windows in particular, it does provide a GUI, or a graphical user interface. It's not just text on the screen. Okay, it provides a graphical interface. When Linux was first invented, it was all textual. Okay, there was no graphical interface. Not until the newer releases of Linux did they even start to incorporate a graphical user interface. When you boot up a Mac, it takes you to a desktop, and it is also a GUI type interface. Starting with Windows Vista and on up into their newer versions of 7 and 8, it provides a 3D user interface called the Aerial User Interface. And this interface is not available for the Windows 7 Starter and Home Basic editions. And it requires that your system have at least 1 GB of RAM and a video card that supports DirectX 9. and you must have at least 128 megabytes of graphics memory. So what is DirectX? That was one of the requirements to be able to run this aerial interface. It's an application program interface, or an API, and it's used for creating and managing graphic images and multimedia effects in applications such as games or web pages that run on the Windows OS. And an API, which we talked about in the DirectX definition, is an application program interface, language, or message format used by an application program to communicate with the operating system. So DirectX is just used for creating and managing graphic images and other kinds of multimedia data. Here's a screenshot of the aerial interface. As you can see, it has a glassy, transparent look to it, and that's how you can really distinguish from the aerial interface to the traditional interface, is that kind of glassy, see-through look. Now we're going to talk about the Windows desktop. We're going to start off with the Start menu. This is the Start menu with Windows 7. You have your circle Start button with the Windows logo in it. When you click on that, it brings up your Start menu. Your username is shown always. Whoever's logged in will be shown up here in the top right of the Start menu. If you're troubleshooting on a computer, it's always a good idea to see who's logged in. See that could help you troubleshoot. If they're having problems accessing certain file shares, see if they're logged in, see if they say who they say they are, and see if they're supposed to have access to those resources. Your most used applications will be listed over here on the left. When you first boot up a computer or reimage a computer, they're going to have generic ones here. But as you start to use Microsoft Word, Excel, all these different things more often, they will start to populate here. If you want to access all programs installed on your computer, you simply click on All Programs, and it'll bring up the list of everything that is installed on your computer. User libraries, files, and other operating system utilities are listed in the dark right column. Over here is where you can get to your computer, formerly known as My Computer, control panel. You can check out your devices and printers, your default programs. And then they have here what they're calling libraries, okay? Your Documents folder, your My Pictures folder, your Music folder. Those are called libraries. There's many different ways that we know of to launch Windows applications. The first one is just to simply click on the Start menu, Start button, and find the program that you're looking for. You can also use the search box, which is located down here. Just simply start typing. Simply start typing into the search box the name of the program that you are wanting, and it'll find it for you. The search box is wonderful. You can use Windows Explorer and find the program there, or you can use a shortcut icon. This is an example of somebody using the search box to locate the MS Info 32 program. A couple new features with this Windows 7 desktop is the Aerial Snap and Aerial Shake. When you snap it, automatically maximizes the window when you drag it to the top of the desktop. And Shake minimizes all windows except the one you shake. All you do is shake the title bar, grab it, and shake back and forth, and it'll minimize all the windows that are open. The taskbar notification area, or the system tray. The taskbar is usually located at the bottom of the Windows desktop. Here you can open programs or have quick access to others, and it also has your quick launch icons. The notification area, or the system tray, is normally on the right side of the taskbar and displays open services. What is a service? A service is a program that runs in the background. It supports or serves Windows or an application. Here's an example of your taskbar having programs, quick access programs to it. Something new they've done with this Aerial desktop is whenever you hover, like if you have 5 internet browsers open or windows open, in the old versions, when you used to hover over that, it'd give you a list that displayed vertically. Now what they're doing is they're giving you a list that displays horizontally, also with a picture of what is up on that page. Here's an example of the taskbar and Start menus properties. This is where you can lock the taskbar so people can't move it around, auto hide it. You can change the Start menu from here. We all know that with the Windows desktop, you can personalize it. Right-click anywhere on the desktop and choose Personalize. Your most common problems are going to be display problems with the screen resolution. The screen resolution is just the number of dots or pixels on the monitor screen expressed as 2 numbers. for example, 1680 by 1050. You can right-click anywhere on the desktop and choose screen resolution, and it can also be accessed from the personalization window. So if you notice your screen is a little fuzzy or you got squiggly lines in it or something, try adjusting the resolution. Here's an example of the personalization window. You can do things here such as desktop background, screensavers, desktop icons. This is where you can personalize your Windows experience. Now we're going to talk about Windows Explorer and the computer window, talk about how files and directories work, how to navigate the folder structure, Windows 7 libraries, Explorer settings, and folder options. The two most useful tools in Windows to explore files and folders are Windows Explorer and the computer window. That's the two easiest ways to navigate through your file system. To open the computer window, click Start and select Computer. To open the Explorer window, you can click the yellow Windows Explorer icon on the taskbar, which looks like a folder, or you can right-click Start and select Open Windows Explorer. Every operating system manages a hard drive, optical drive, USB drive, or other type of drive by using directories, also known as folders, subfolders, and files. A drive is usually organized with a single root directory. This is what they call the top-down hierarchical structure. So you're going to start from your highest level, which is your root, and then you go down through there through your subdirectories. Except for the only exception to this is hard drives, because they are divided into partitions, or having more than one volume, where each volume has its own root directory. Here's an example of storage devices such as USB drive, CD, or how they work. You have one root, C is your root. Then you have your subdirectories, C Windows, C Data, C Program Files, and then from C Data, we can also have other root directories as well. The root directory can hold files or other directories. The ones that it holds are called subdirectories, child directories, or folders. Any directory can have files and other subdirectories in it. File path is the location of a file referenced by a drive and directory. Basically how this starts is you're going to have your C drive, which is your root directory. And it's going to take you to your first subfolder of data, then the next subfolder of business, and then finally the file name of letter, and then the file extension. And that is a complete file path. Some tips to navigate when working with Windows Explorer or the computer window. Double-click items in the left pane, which is called the navigation pane, to drill down into your subfolders. To control how files appear, you can right-click or go to the right pane and click the view icon and then select your view. You can do extra large icons, you can put it in a list view, details, so on and so forth. To control column headings that appear in the details view, right-click a column heading and select the heading that you want to appear. So when you're in details view, maybe if you want to see the last date it was modified, just right-click up here beside name, and then select date modified. Some more tips: use a search box in the upper right corner of the window. If you can't find something or want to find it quicker, if you know the name, there's forward and back arrows, just like on a web browser, that you can use to move forward and back in the folder structures. You can click the right arrow in the path displayed in the address bar at the top of Explorer to see a drop-down list of the subfolders. This is, instead of drilling down through here by double-clicking all these on the left, if you want to just go C, you can say, oh, all these folders are in the C drive. I want to go to Dropbox. A Windows 7 library is defined as a collection of one or more folders. These folders can be stored on different local drives or on the network. With Windows, there are 4 default libraries. You have Documents, Music, Pictures, and Videos. The first 3 can be accessed from the Start menu by default, and you can use the computer window or Windows Explorer to access all libraries. There's an example of the 4 default libraries and how you can go in and change the properties if you would wish. You can change and view options that are assigned to the folders. You can control how users view in a folder, what users can do with the files. You can change who has access and who doesn't. You can choose if the folder is read-only. File extensions are used to identify file types. Windows does not show the file extension if it knows which application is associated with it. So Windows may not show your letter.doc file if it knows that Word is going to open that file. And Windows hides system files until you force it to show them. There's different methods that you can use to create a file. You can use an application. If you're in Windows Explorer, you can right-click on the unused area and tell it to create a new file. And this is a screenshot of doing that. Right-clicking New and selecting means select File or to Microsoft Word document. To create a folder, select your parent folder or the spot in which you want the subfolder to be located. Right-click, say New and Folder, and give it a name. And you can create folders within folders within folders. The maximum length of a path and file name cannot exceed 260 characters. This is an example of creating a new folder. Copy, move, or delete files or folders. If you want to copy it, you can right-click, copy, and paste it to where you want it. Alternative ways to copy, you can drag and drop. You can do the Control-C key. If you want to rename a file or folder, just right-click and select rename. If you want to delete it, select folder and press delete, or you can also right-click and say delete folder. If you want to select multiple items, you can hit the shift key and click, and that'll select everything from the point A where you clicked until point B. Whereas control, you can select non-adjacent items in a list. You can change folder attributes, which are properties. Just right-click and say properties, and you can change it from there. You can do such things as hide a file, make it read-only, or flag a file to be backed up. Here's an example of changing the file attributes. They just right-clicked on the folder, went to properties, and this is what it brings up. Now we're going to talk about some quick and easy Windows tools. We're going to talk about the system window, the system information window, control panel, action center, user access control, network and sharing center, and Windows help. Windows tools we're going to start with. We're going to start out by looking at the system window. The system window can give you a quick look at what hardware and software is installed. To open the system window, click Start, right-click Computer, select Properties. The useful information that's found here is your edition of Windows. Are you running a 64 or 32-bit version? Are you running Home or Professional? What service pack is installed, and what is your Windows experience rating? So other useful information is your memory installed and the type of OS installed. So here is a screenshot of the system information window, or the system window, sorry. As you can tell, it tells you your Windows edition, service pack, experience rating, memory installed, and type of OS installed. This is also where you can add yourself to a domain or a work group. The next window we're going to look at, the next tool we're going to look at is the system information window. And how it differs from the system window is that it's going to give you more detailed information about your system. It's going to give you details about your processor or BIOS versions, about how much RAM you have installed, where your OS is installed, what directory, what size your hard drive is, the names of currently running drivers. And drivers are just small programs stored on a hard drive that tell the computer how to communicate with a specific hardware device. To run the system information window, click Start and enter msinfo32.exe in the search box and press Enter. And this is a screenshot of what it will bring up. The control panel contains applets used to manage the system. To access the control panel, click Start, and over in the right-hand section, click Control Panel. You can also access these utilities by Start, typing the program name in the search box, or you can open the system window in the System and Security Group or Control Panel, select Start, right-click Computer, and select Properties. You'll find your own ways that you like to open certain things. There's multiple ways to do it. Each technician, each IT person has their own way of opening things and going about things. This is the screenshot of the control panel. We've probably all seen the control panel before. One of the big things to keep in mind is if you've used to working on older systems, when you open up the newer control panel, it has it broken down into categories. I don't like the category view personally, so I always click up here on this arrow and select List View. That's totally up to you. The search box also comes in very handy when you're working in control panel. Let's say you're looking for power options. Simply click in the search box and type power, and it'll bring up the power options applet. The Action Center. The Action Center is a tool to use when you want to make a quick job at solving a computer problem. This lists errors and issues that need attention, usually like your virus definition is out of date. It's going to tell you things like that. And the Action Center flag appears in the notification area of the taskbar. Now, just because the Action Center says something needs taken care of, by clicking on it, it may not solve the problem. So don't rely solely on the Action Center. Here's a screenshot of the Action Center open. As this one says, it doesn't have any virus protection. And it also, you need to set up a backup. And it will also give you help documents if you need it on an issue. The user access control box is a dialog box that appears each time a user attempts to perform an action that can be done only with administrator privileges. The user account control box is a pain in the butt. It does have a purpose though. If you're just a standard user who's trying to, let's say, install a program and you have to have administrator rights, you're going to get that little pop-up box that asks for your username and password. You will not be able to install the program that you want until an administrator inputs the username and password. Now, if you're an administrator and you log into that machine, you're not going to see the user account control box. Okay, it'll probably pop up and just give you a yes or no instead of a password option. And the reason why they implemented it was to prevent malicious background tasks from gaining administrator privileges when the administrator is logged on. And you as an administrator can change that, change the sensitivity of the UAC. This is an example. On the top box, if you're logged in as the administrator, it's just going to ask you yes or no. The bottom screenshot is if you're not an administrator, it's going to ask for a username and password. The Network and Sharing Center. You can use this to help resolve failed network connections. You can use the control panel or the taskbar to access the control center. You can right-click on it and say Open Network and Sharing Center, and you're going to come to this. This is the Network and Sharing Center. Inside the Network and Sharing Center, you can do things. You can do things like manage your wireless networks. If you're running a wireless machine, change adapter settings. This is where you can change your LAN or your WLAN connections, and you can change your advanced sharing options. Okay, this is like the change adapter setting. This is where you could go to set a static IP, see if you're sending and receiving packets. Another good tool that they put inside the Network and Sharing Center is this here. This tells you pretty much where your breakdown is before you get to the internet. If it's just your computer and you're connected straight to your router, then you know it's somewhere between there. But a lot of the times on a network-based or a business-based network, you're going to have your computer, and then it's going to have a server sitting here in the middle, and then it's going to say internet. So if it's green, so if you get a green line from your computer to the server, but then you get a red line from the server to the internet, you know there's a problem with your server or your internet connection. But you know the connection from your computer to the server is good. So it just gives you a quick glimpse to see what's going on. Windows Help and Support. There's Help and Support when you click Start over on the right-hand column. This has tips for using different aspects of Windows. Microsoft's website has tons of useful information, support.microsoft.com. You can use a search engine such as Google. To limit a Google search to the Microsoft website, use the site :microsoft.com text in the search string. The internet is very helpful when it comes to researching computer errors. However, don't try certain things if they don't seem correct or don't seem credible. Usually check 2 or 3 different sources to see if you get the same information, okay? Especially with forum type things. You could really try something that could really mess up your computer on there. This is an example of the Windows Help and Support box. So the summary of Chapter 1, pretty introductory chapter into the operating system of Windows. We talked about how the OS manages the system resources. You can just read down through there and see the different things that we talked about. As I said, Chapter 1, intro into operating systems. With this course, we are primarily going to focus on the Windows operating system. Primarily Windows 7. But just because we are only like I said, we're primarily going to focus on Windows 7. But just because we're primarily focusing on Windows 7 does not mean that we won't explore other options. All right, so we might my plan is to do a little Linux towards the end of the semester, do a little Apple towards the end of the semester, and just try to broaden our horizons. So in chapter 1, it's just a basic introduction to, hi, this is Windows 7. This is what it is. This is what it looks like. Be sure and read your chapter. On Desire to Learn, there's going to be some questions posted about this lecture. There's going to be your homework assignment posted. When you get that homework assignment done, there'll be a Dropbox, which you should put it in. Okay. And there'll be another video called the welcome video, which you should probably watch before this one if you haven't. But be sure you watch the welcome video as well, and it'll kind of detail Desire to Learn and how I expect things to run. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to send me an email to leekd@iecc.edu. Okay, and I'll be sure and answer back as quickly as possible. All right. So be sure and read chapter 1. You can watch this lecture as much as you want. If you have any questions, do let me know.